All right, what's going on? How's everybody doing? Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected and the viewers are smarter than the average bear. Good to see you. Is everybody still confused about the fact that we're back pretty much every day at 4? I think people are confused. It's all good. We will all understand together. We're back pretty much every day at 4, and sometimes at 11. Maybe almost every day at 11, but I don't know where yet. I was doing my 11 o'clock things on all the channels, but still undecided. I may move it to the Brain Fallout channel and not do YouTube, just because those shows tend to be more conspiratorial in nature or more news oriented. I don't know. We're live on Rockfin. I don't know where the Rockfin people are. Not sure. Was everybody really super confused? I don't know. Or maybe it's just maybe it's a Monday. Maybe it's hot. Anyways, a couple people are here. A couple people are here. Good to see you. I got some people to thank. Max sent me a donation to my P.O. box, which is cool. If you guys want to send a donation to my P.O. box, if that's the way you want to do it, you can do it that way. And just let me know. Send me an email or whatnot. And also on Friday, and I'm sorry that I missed you, or missed thanking someone who shall remain nameless because they were only called someone, on buymeacoffee.com bought me 5 coffees. And they said, I enjoy your shows. I don't chat very well or a lot, but I do listen. I take what I can to add to my life to make it better. Keep up what you're doing. Good stuff. Always good stuff. So thank you, whoever that was that bought the 5 coffees. I appreciate you. All right, we're live on Rockfin, Rumble, and on YouTube. You can watch on any of those channels. And I encourage you to watch on all the channels. Because YouTube is sometimey, and we never know when YouTube is gonna be YouTube. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? All right. Well, let's get into it. There's a few things to talk about today. And I feel like this is always oh, by the way, there's a 24/7 chat. Why am I singing this? Stop trying to tell me to upgrade. I ain't going to upgrade me or you. Oh, I'm on the wrong. Say what? Oh, I'm confused. Where Okay. I'm somewhere. There's a 24/7 chat. Some people have availed themselves of this 24/7 Black Bear News chat. It's on Telegram. How do you get on the 24/7 news chat, Black Bear News chat on Telegram? Well, you download the Telegram app. All right. You download the Telegram app. You go to the description box. You click on the link in the description box that says Telegram, and it takes you to the chat. And you can go there and converse with all your favorite people. Not I'm seeing. That's what you can do. Anyways, it's hot as heck again today here. As always, it's hot as heck today here. Seems like these days. And I also forgot my... I keep forgetting my phone now whenever I do my show. So at some point I'm going to have to go get my phone. Because it's kind of the main way that I can tell that people have tipped me. But for sure, how y'all doing? Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. What did everybody do on the weekend? Anybody do anything like super exciting? Anybody have any run-ins with extreme weather? Did anybody have any insight into our predicament? Did anybody have any interesting news to share? Because I'm always open to it. You know that I am. Rockfenders, what's good? Have the past couple weeks been fairly chill weather-wise? I don't know. I mean, not really. I mean, we've been covering... Well, I guess the question is where. Max says, my girlfriend went camping and she almost lost her cat. Oh, no. I almost lost my cat twice this weekend. I know how that feels. Oh, needs me tea. Yeah, first off, well, here's... my kitty's trying to get into the... My kitty's trying to get into the picture somehow. Say hi, Nine. Say hi. What are you doing? All right. Go over there. Yeah, I couldn't find my cat the other day, and I had to go to work, and I was desperately trying to find my cat. And then today, I couldn't find my cat, and he was up in a tree. He was in the dang tree, and he couldn't get out. So I had to, like, go get a ladder. Convince him that down the tree was a better direction than up the tree. Because he was trying to go up the tree. He thought that was the way to get out. I don't know. Cats are weird, you know what I'm saying? He thought up the tree was the best way to go. And I was telling him, no, absolutely not. That is not the best place to go. And finally, he came down the tree, which was cool. And he's okay now. But he's definitely looking for something weird to get into. He's got weirdness on his mind. Okay. This is from Sarah Connor. Temperature, land use, water use, fertilizer use, all at levels incompatible with sustainable human civilization. How old is this? It's from 2023. From the Financial Times. But good to revisit. Activities, you say, have pushed 7 of 8 planetary boundaries into risk zones, research finds. I like this subject, and I like this topic of discussion because there's a lot of people that want to say like, oh, they're, the powers that be are making up the whole climate change thing, and we're not hurting the planet, and you know, it's not your fault, and there's nothing happening, and it's just they're making it up, and they're making the weather happen, which they could be, but not in all instances. All right, I see some more people filing in, which is good. Oh, I don't know. I mean, maybe people have some other things going on that might be possible. Well, anyways, so I like this topic of discussion because, you know, a lot of people think that the whole climate change discussion and or the idea that humans might be doing bad things to the planet, they all think that's a bunch of hooey. But I think everybody can agree that we're poisoning ourselves in the land, right? So it's like, can't you just extend the poisoning to? I just don't understand the disconnect. It's like, well, we know that we've poisoned the water to the point where it's dangerous to drink, from a lot of water sources because there's PFAS, there's there's radiation, there's all kinds of stuff in the water that you don't want to ingest into your body. We know that we are, inhaling, chemicals and medicines and GMO foods at such a rate, and also pesticides and glyphosate and all kinds of stuff. We know that we're inhaling all of these entities into our bodies and pushing it into the land to such a rate that it's having, long-term detrimental effect on people's health, on the quality of your food. Again, microplastics, endocrine disruptors, et cetera, et cetera. The list is long. So you know that this is happening, and everybody can pretty much agree to it, right? Left, right, and center. Everybody's like, yeah. What we're doing to our food supply and what we're doing to ourselves via our food supply is not good. Everybody can kind of agree to that across the board. Nobody's like, oh, yeah, totally. GMO foods and, radiated PFAS water, totally good for you. Like nobody is on that train. Nobody's on that. Everybody can agree that we're not doing good things to ourselves. But somehow you can't extend that to what we're doing with, emissions, right? The carbon emissions that we have emitted over decades and decades and decades and decades. No, that's not a problem. That's absolutely a bunch of hooey. Like I don't know how you can't extend the poisoning to the level that we are changing the atmosphere, that we are changing how the earth operates, right? How it used to operate. I just don't understand. You can't, for me, it seems to be pretty simple, right? I can see that we're poisoning ourselves and the planet, hand over fist, and we've been doing it for a long time. Why wouldn't this have an overall cumulative detrimental effect on the planet as a whole? It just seems super simple to me. Like it's like a no duh kind of super simple. Creative Experiment says Capitalists surprised Earth didn't come with an instruction manual. Yeah. All right. People kind of came in late today. I don't know. I think everybody's still confused about the schedule. I'll say it here now, and I'll probably repeat myself. We're back to 4 p.m. pretty much every day of the week. I mean, Monday through Friday, right? So Monday through Friday, Black Bear News or Brain Fallout or some version of Black Bear News. I think we're going to do Friday book readings or something like that. Is back to 4 p.m. every single day, Monday through Friday. Maybe a surprise on the weekend. Also, there might be 11 a.m. things here and there, too. Probably tomorrow. So I'm just putting that out there. So if anybody is confused, that's what's happening. I was having a bad week a couple weeks ago. I was having a little bit of a meltdown. Okay. We're clear? Are we clear on that? All right, good. Anyways, let's read this. The Earth has already passed safe limits for humans as temperatures rise. Water system disruption and destruction of natural habitats have reached boundaries. A study by a group of the world's foremost scientists has found. The research published in the journal Nature on Wednesday identified 8 Earth system boundaries that include climate, biodiversity, water, natural ecosystems, land use, and the effect of fertilizers and aerosols. Human activities had pushed 7 of these boundaries beyond their safe and just limit into risk zones that indicate the threat to planetary and human health. Researchers have traditionally focused on the effects of climate change or biodiversity loss on the planet itself, but the study from the Earth Commission group of scientists marks an attempt by experts to identify the limits after which humans will suffer significant harm. Well, if you just open up your Twitter every day and you look at all the people experiencing extreme weather, I think people are already suffering significant harm. It could be happening in pockets around the planet, like the lack of food due to extreme weather events. You know, flooding, extreme flooding or drought or both, impacting people's food supply. Well, that's causing significant harm to humans, is it not? So I think we're already there. And that significant harm due to a lack of food because of disruption of agriculture is probably going to rise in the next year or two. Magic 8 Ball says most likely. Let's keep going. Johan Rockström, director of the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research and co-author of the report, said it was very worrying that most of the boundaries had already been breached. It's starting to hurt already, causing extreme events and abrupt impacts which go beyond heat waves, droughts, and floods caused by climate change, but also lower food security, worsening water quality, overdraft of groundwater, and worsened conditions for livelihoods, particularly among the vast vulnerable majorities in the world, he said. It's not only climate causing risks of displacement, migration, and potentially conflicts. It's the totality of these breaching these safe and just boundaries. According to the research, the safe and just limit, which takes into account the impact on planet and people for global temperature rise, is 1C, higher than pre-industrial times. Remember when the actual guardrail was 1? That was back in the days of James Hansen. The guardrail was 1C, not 1.5. This increase is already at least at 1.1 C or as much as 1.2 C. According to the study, under the Paris Agreement, world governments pledged to limit the rise to 2 C and ideally 1.5 C, the level at which irreversible planetary changes are expected to take place. Guess where we are right now? Guess what guardrail was breached? It wasn't the one. I'll give you a hint. It wasn't one. The Earth Commission researchers said that at a rise of 1.5 C, more than 200 million people would be exposed to unprecedented mean annual temperatures, and more than 500 million could be exposed to long-term sea level rises. Yes, I know those things haven't... Well, I don't know about the annual temperatures, but I mean, people are being exposed to both of those things, temperatures and sea level rise. Not to the extent that they say. It takes a little time, right, for those feedbacks to really kick in. To really kick in. We got Rockfinners. Rockfinners, how you doing? We got Rumblers, people on Rumble. How you doing? How you doing? Takes a little time for these things to kick in, but they're already kicking in. They are already kicking in. Between 50% and 60% of the Earth needed to be covered by largely intact ecosystems, a level that had already been breached, the study said. The use of nitrogen as a fertilizer needed to be half. It also concluded to reduce the excessive growth of plant and algal blooms on surface water and to lower ammonia and nitrogen oxide emissions. The so-called Earth system is made up of many interdependent processes that keep the planet stable, but when disrupted, alter its habitability. I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? It's just... many interdependent processes that keep the planet stable. If you disrupt those, you disrupt how these different factors interact and keep things in a habitable place. Rockstrom said of all the various Earth systems boundaries outlined in the research were interconnected, meaning that overshooting the safe limit for one could have a knock-on impact on others. Again, a fairly simple concept. That people want to dismiss just because powerful people talk about this. And yes, powerful people might be using these concepts for nefarious purposes, but just because they're doing that doesn't mean that concepts are wrong. They're just using them. It's like, you know. When they say that fascism is on the rise, they're correct. They're pointing in the, in some of the obvious directions, but they're not really pointing at themselves and saying fascism is on the rise. We're also in the league of fascism is on the rise. Hey, let's keep going. If you want to solve the climate crisis, you need other boundaries intact as well. When you have a climate crisis, you want a healthy planet. But we have a weaker planet than ever before. He said the researchers use the same units of measurement to incorporate justice for people into scientific analysis as was used for safe limits for the planet. I mean, this is where it gets a little bit weird. The concept of climate justice isn't a bad concept either. Again, though, I feel like it's a slogan. It's sloganeering, right? It's when they say climate justice, they say it to make it seem like they care. And some people may care, but for the most part, they don't care. And for the most part, they know that there's There's no such thing as, if the climate falls apart, there's no climate justice. There's just, it affects who it affects, right? Rich and poor, black and white, male and female. It affects who it affects. Of course, those in poverty are not going to have the money to escape, to move away, to move to a better climate, to buy water, to buy food that other people might not be able to afford. Of course, yes, though that is going to happen. But there is no climate justice, and when things break down, there's no human rights. that is, I'm sorry to tell you that. Human rights are only something that we bestow upon ourselves when we have a stable political system or a stable civilization. But when civilization starts breaking down, human rights, there's no such thing. Human rights go away. There has never been a thing called human rights. Human rights are a human construct, right? We made that up. We created it as an ideal, and it is an ideal. It's a great ideal. I like the ideal. Human rights are great. I'm not saying I don't believe in human rights. I'm just saying that nature doesn't care. There's no such thing as human rights in nature. Nature does not give two shits about human rights. And so when nature breaks down and things start getting squirrely, there's no such thing as climate justice or human rights. It's every man for himself, and that's how it's going to be. And unfortunately, that's how it's going to go. Shakashin? Shakashian? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Says, and the global south generally has a demographic less responsible for the warming, thus a bit of an extra injustice on top of it. Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, I'm not like saying that. I'm well aware that the first people that are going to be impacted are going to be the people least responsible for the damage, of course. But I feel like the term climate justice, or when people talk about justice, climate justice, or I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit disingenuous, because generally it's the people that have all the money and the power and the wealth and the control, that put these terms out there. Again, feigning as if they care when they really don't care. And you know that they don't. So I think I played a video. Yeah, justice for who? I don't know. Creative experiments. Remember the A Brain video I played last week? I don't know if anybody remembers that. It was, one of the parts of the video, the guy says, shoot. Oh, I should have taken that off. Sorry, guys. In that video, the guy said, I used to care about being lectured by somebody with 3 private jets about climate change. And then I got a brain. I mean, yeah, he's correct. The people with 3 private jets, or with, multiple private islands or yachts, or, companies or institutions worth billions of dollars. They can talk all day long about climate justice and climate change, and they're not interested in fixing it, because they're not actually in the process of fixing it. They're actually doing the things that are opposite of fixing it while they're talking about fixing it, which makes them illegitimate spokespeople for the problem, about the problem. All right. I did want to play. Maybe I can find this on Rockfin. On Rockfin. Let's see. Rock Fenders, y'all good? You good? Let's see if we can find. I don't want. Let's see. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this very quickly. Let's see if we can, though. Man, Jimmy Dore is a machine. I don't know how he gets all these clips out. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this because there's too many clips. Let's see. Maybe I can do a good old-fashioned quick search here. We'll try the regular web. Nope. I should have known better than that. Hold on. Here we go. I think it's somewhere in here. She talks about people who are environmentalists. See if we can get to it quickly. Come on now.
A lot of companies today struggle with privacy because Skyflow didn't exist a few years ago. But now we have API-based solutions.
All right, there we go.
So many people do not know this. There is an AI personal assistant, and you can even try it for free. This is Motion. So let's say I have an upcoming sales pitch to prepare for. So all I have...
Sorry.
Hey, I'll see you on tour in Las Vegas.
No.
So these all things go together. So,
and he came back as Attorney General under Trump.
Iran, like what is the bug up their ass with Iran? Now, is that just
let me explain it to you. The bug up their ass is a policy paper written by this neocon named Richard Pearl in the late 90s called A Clean Break. And basically that document, it was written for Netanyahu, even though Richard Pearl is an American that served later in the George W. Bush administration and was an architect of the Iraq War. In that document, he essentially talks about how Israel needs to engineer the elimination of Saddam Hussein and also of the Syrian government. And from then on, it expanded to more countries as the neocons got in power with the George W. Bush administration. And one of the hallmarks of the neocons is, again, conflating the U.S. National interest as it relates to foreign policy with Israeli regional interests. And they're not the same a lot of the time. When it comes to Richard Pearl and Peter Thiel, it was actually Richard Pearl who helped Peter Thiel set up Palantir in the early 2000s with Alex Karp and connected them with the godfather of modern surveillance, a man named John Poindexter, who created Total Information Awareness and was previously the highest ranking member of the Reagan administration to be convicted in connection with the Iran-Contra scandal.
He was convicted of five different felonies, right?
Yes. And William Barr covered it all up when he was Attorney General for Bush Sr., and he came back as Attorney General under Trump. And but what's important here is that during Iran-Contra, people like Poindexter, as well as Oliver North, who returned during the Trump administration to pitch Trump alongside Eric Prince with creating a private CIA, Great idea. Just kidding. But anyway, in Iran-Contra, Oliver North and Poindexter and others created this database called Main Core, which contained the names of Americans who were considered unfriendly and could be rounded up during a vaguely defined national crisis that would include a widespread nonviolent against a military intervention abroad. So a massive protest, for example, against a U.S. foreign war. People could be rounded up and the Constitution could be suspended to put these Americans away.
So this is important. This is important. I don't want to breeze over this. So there's a thing called Main Core, and this thing called Main Core, they've set. So Barack Obama repealed habeas corpus, just so you know, right? So these all things go together. So what does that mean, Jimmy? So they don't even have to give you a trial. If they want to lock you up, they can just say you're a terrorist, and then they can have what they call indefinite detention, thanks to Barack Obama and the 2011 National Defense Authorization Act, Section 1021. Now, how this works with Main Core is explain to people again. You went a little fast. Explain to people again what Main Core is.
Main Core is a database that was created by the Iran-Contra people in the 1980s, but it still exists. And it contains names of Americans who are deemed quote unquote unfriendly by the national security state and could be rounded up or incarcerated during a national crisis. And
they actually said this. They actually said this.
It came up during the Iran-Contra hearings, and the hearings were shut down when Senator Jack Brooks tried to ask a question about it. I put the video
is that
in the
what
article.
that was?
Yes.
Oh, I saw. So that was this Daniel Inouye shut that down. The senator from Hawaii. He shut that down. Okay, so now
there was a Miami Herald report about it, actually, because it involved Cheney and Rumsfeld as well, even though they weren't officially in the Reagan administration.
So they're collecting names of Americans, and I'm sure someone like me would be on that list. And what they would do is this: if they started a war. And they wanted to.
That was very unpopular. There was a financial crisis.
They would just put.
Henry Paulson under Bush in 2008 piloted the idea of declaring martial law across the country if the banks weren't bailed out.
And
it's the same people.
And they could throw people in jail. They explicitly said this, right? So, but Main Core didn't go away with Iran-Contra. How did it? No. What's the modern reinvention of Main Core?
Yeah, so Main Core it is the database, right? And it was the same people that created that, which was in use after 9/11, and as far as we know, still exists. The last mainstream media report on it was in 2008, and at that point, it had 3 million Americans on it. And as far as we know, it hasn't gone away, so it's likely more. But the same people that made that made this DARPA program called Total Information Awareness, or TIA.
Right.
And the goal of TIA was to basically combine with Main Core, but through data mining, not only decide who gets on the Main Core list, but also create sort of this pre-crime paradigm, predictive policing.
Pre-crime. They're really doing this. So this TIA, what does TIA stand for?
Total Information Awareness.
Now, was that a government
the program?
Was that originally a government program? But it's now been
a DARPA program.
It's a DARPA program, but now it's Palantir's doing this. Peter Thiel.
Now it's Palantir. Yes.
And
so
what is
TIA?
Tell people what that is.
Yeah. So Total Information Awareness was defunded by Congress not long after it was launched because every mainstream media outlet, the ACLU, and organizations like it across the board said this will end privacy for Americans. It's it's unconstitutional. So it was defunded.
And why? What did it do?
It sucked up. It was going to basically spy on all Americans, total information awareness, right? And decide who was going to commit a crime before it happened.
Yes.
Terror attacks before it happened, bioterror, even pandemics before they happen, which is why a lot of the policies that originally Total Information Awareness proposed came back during the Trump administration during COVID, and Palantir was the contractor for all of those. What do you know?
So,
but anyway.
So TIA, this TIA thing, which came from Main Core. So TIA, they're going to use.
It's related to Main Core.
So related. So they're going to use every telephone call you ever make, every text you ever make, every Google search, every website you ever go to. They have a way of collecting all of that data.
They collect all of it.
And they put it into a database on you, and they have this kind of capability. And so immediately after this was invented, you're right. All these well, that
was a very long-winded attempt, but somewhere in there she said environmentalists are on these lists too. People that are hardcore environmentalists, people who are anti-capitalism, right? If you think capitalism is the thing that's causing environmental damage, you might be targeted by this TIA. And if that's the case, then all the people who are trying to tell you about climate change is important and we have to do something about it, and climate justice and stuff like that, climate justice, are all, they're collecting information about you, especially if you're a hardcore environmentalist. So if you want to know the level of the gaslighting that's going on by the people in charge who are trying to tell you that you should care about climate change when they don't give two hoots, right? Anyways, that was a very long way around to make that point, but Creative Experiment says JFK thought he could save capitalism and get rid of the CIA. Now RFK trying to repeat the same mistakes. I mean, well, yeah, dyed in the wool democratic socialists. They want a more just and fair capitalism, which is, I guess it's an okay idea, but how far can they go, right? Are we talking about shrinking capitalism down to the size of 5% of the economy that we experience now? Because that's what it would have to be. They would have to shrink, it would be mostly an obliteration of capitalism as we know it, and there'd be very little, raw, capitalistic imperialism going on, right? It would be more like, how do we transact? How do we move funds from one person to another in order to transact the daily business of, buying tomatoes from your neighbor? Like on that level, like no capitalism involved in the military industrial complex and all the intelligence agencies and all the, it's, on and on. It would be a radical. Yes, I can drop the link, Shani. Yes, it would be like Minority Report. It's a great interview. It's a really good interview. I suggest watching the whole thing. There's the link there. I can drop it on Rumble, I guess. It's harder to get the link off of YouTube. If you want to get it from Rumble, it's on Rumble. Old as Dirt coming in. Rockfin at the end of the show. How you doing, Old as Dirt? Yeah, you can get it from Rumble. It's on Rumble. It's I couldn't find it on Rockfin for some reason. I was looking for it on Rockfin. Anyways, good interview. Yeah, we're already kind of towards the end of the show. If anybody's unclear, we're back on every Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. So if you're unclear on the schedule, I know I said a few weeks ago that I was gonna take the live streams down quite a bit, but I had a change of heart. So I was just having a rough week, and it was really hot, and I was having a hard time. With energy. So that was a few weeks ago. Anyways, what else can I tell you? I'll probably do an 11 a.m. thoughts tomorrow, but just keep an eye out for that. keep an eye out for that. Please, everyone, go into if you want to continue the chat 24/7. If you want to converse with the people that are generally in the chat and get, I see obsolete dropped a sea level rise link in the Telegram. Lots of really interesting things going on in Telegram. If you want to go there and hang out, download the Telegram app. Go hit the Telegram link that's in the description box. It will bring you to the Black Bear News chat, and you can go hang out there and chat with people whenever you want. Or just get updates on the show. You know, if you want to go there and just get in the Telegram chat, and you can, I tell you when I'm going to be live streaming. Oh, by the way, on Patreon, for all my Patreoners, and these are up for free, all the 11 a.m. thoughts are written out as articles on Patreon. So if you want to go to Patreon, Black Bear News on Patreon, you can go there and read those articles if you want to reread what it was I said. And I'm probably going to be trying to, do my 11 a.m. thoughts. Even if I don't do a live stream, I may just drop them as articles on Patreon. So yeah, you can go there and check those out. All of those links are also in the Telegram chat if you want to go, or just go to Patreon. Also, if you want to keep up with what I'm dropping on the music side, go to my Instagram at kevinsandbloom. You can follow me on Instagram at kevinsandbloom, or TikTok at kevinsandbloom. And, I drop like videos there. But Instagram is probably the best place because I post shows, videos, and whatever else is going on with my music there. All right. If you want to support the channel and you enjoy what I'm bringing you every day for free 99, Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. or 11 a.m. and other times. If you like everything that you get here and you want to support financially, that would be super great. Because I could definitely use your financial support. All the links to do that are in the description box. There's, Venmo, PayPal, coffees, etc. All the ways to support are there. And don't forget the Super Rays, Super Chats, and Rumble Rants. Okay. All that being said, let's look at this next thing. This is the update to the limits to growth. I know everybody's like, oh my God, they're just telling you. Again, just because some not so great people were involved in this, it doesn't mean that the information is not correct. And unfortunately, I know that a lot of people think that everything is, fake, and everything is a propaganda or some kind of, everything is fake and a mind control, something. But I think it's pretty simple to see that we're not doing good things to the planet, right? You can see it with your own eyes. If you really pay attention, we have lost all the insects. Right? Where are the insects? Where are the insects gone? They're not on your windshields anymore. That's for sure. They're not in your gardens anymore. That's for sure. We get swarms once in a while of insects, right? We get some cicadas, we get some butterflies, we get some dragonflies occasionally, but on the regular, people aren't seeing bees anymore. On the regular, people aren't seeing all kinds of insects. That's due to the fact of the changing climate and the poisoning of the planet, right? By all of our activities. So, I feel like the people that are trying to tell you that climate change isn't a thing are trying to tell you not to believe your lying eyes. Because it's right there. Let's look at This limits to growth graph. Creative Experiment says, now that I think about it, I haven't seen many grasshoppers. Where's the bug meat going to come from? Yes. I told you, well, last year, we usually have a ton of crickets. In fact, I've been here in this house for almost 8 years. And I can tell you that crickets are such a feature here. You can usually hear crickets all year round, and you can usually hear crickets all day long, or at least a couple of crickets, doing cricket noises. Last year, I didn't hear one cricket for several months, and it took a long time for the cricket population to come back in the summer. They finally did come back a little bit. This year, the same thing again. They came back a little bit sooner. Now they're back. Now they're really, you can hear them at night doing a nice little cricket chorus, cricket singing and whatnot. But for a while in the beginning of the summer, there were very few crickets. I didn't really hear too many, only in select spots around the neighborhood. Usually the people with the local plant gardens had crickets, but not, people with the regular American, lawns and well-maintained shrubberies. Those gardens did not have any crickets. Probably the people using pesticides didn't have crickets. But we finally got them back. They're finally here again. Anyways, and anybody can confirm this, right? Anybody. Even fireflies on the East Coast. When I go to the East Coast, there used to be fireflies everywhere in the summer, and now you rarely see them. Anybody can see this with their own eyes. Anybody can go confirm this. So I want, all the climate change is false people to tell me of all the bugs you're seeing. Tell me about, tell me whether you have experienced a disappearance in bugs. That's an indication that something is not right on the planet. I know. The first thing that's if they weren't spraying the skies with the aluminum, and there'd be bugs. They're killing the bugs. Maybe. I don't know how. It doesn't make sense to me to destroy an ecosystem and to destroy the habitability of the planet. Like, how does that help the powerful and the rich? Right? If everything collapses, if the biosphere of the planet collapses, how does that help the wealthy? I mean, sure, they do dumb stuff like that because they don't consider blowback. They never do. They never consider blowback. But destroying the habitability of the planet, it just isn't not really. Why? Because you starve too. Dingleberry. So, I look at it more as like greed and carelessness. And we all help the greed and carelessness along because we like the system we live in, and we don't care. We enjoy the fruits of the system. And so we all contribute to this mess. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. It's everyone's problem. I know you don't want to be blamed for it, but guess what? The rich are not going to stop destroying the planet. So who's going to stop them? Did you figure out the answer yet? Okay. Limits to Growth 2023 recalibration using actual observed data. Collapse arrives on the back of diminishing marginal productivity. And so I believe the dotted lines are the original. The original estimates were the dotted lines. Max says the frogs are gone too. I keep breeding a breeding pond around here, but in Southern California, most of the frogs are gone. I wouldn't doubt it. And we can just blame that on the, you could either blame it on climate change or the inundation of humans and all their doings. Either way, it's the same thing. That's not anti-human. That's not an anti-human stance. It's just, golly gee willikers, I wish humans could act a little better stance. Which is, again, not a stretch for anyone, I think, to understand that maybe humans could do a little better. Anyways, these are the trajectories, non-renewable natural resources. This one goes down first. This curve goes down, starts going down in the 70s and continues going down, 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 down. And we're actually on the, according to this graph, on the end of the downslope of this. So we've depleted most of the non-renewable natural resources already. And if you look around, that's probably true. Here, industrial output, this is the red. This goes straight down right about now. This is their recalibration. So right around this time, industrial output goes straight down. Food production also goes straight down right about now. It's getting a little hairy if this ends up being true. Right around 2024, 2025, this is their... So, give or take, plus minus a few years. Population, how population stays at this level with food production going straight down, I don't understand. Why population wouldn't go straight down too? Doesn't make sense to me. But population does go down quite a bit, but doesn't really get going until 2050. So this one is a mystery to me, because if food production goes straight down, how do we keep the population up here for another 25 years? I don't know. Persistent pollution, we are on the bottom of the upswing of that. Right? Persistent pollution. We are just getting started in 2025. Just getting started. Yikes. That's carbon, methane, all, whatever else you want to throw in there. Radiation, PFAS, glyphosates, name one. Anyways, scary graph, if true, if it ends up being industrial output hasn't fallen off a cliff yet. This line, looks like we're hitting the population going straight down. It looks like right about now, basically. Well, this is 2023. It's now 2024. So we're, they're predicting food production going down real soon. Old as Dirt says, my neighbor has bees that visit daily. Nice. Nice. Some people have bees. I'm thinking about getting a beehive, because we used to have bees in my yard, and now they are long gone. There are no bees anymore. And so I'm planning on doing a lot more food growing. Creative experiment sounds like an October surprise, according to that graph. Yeah. Anyways, something to keep in mind as time goes forward. I'm going to check and see if I have anybody to thank. Y'all. Thanks everybody for hanging out. Oh, Shawnee, thank you. Got a Venmo from Shawnee. I appreciate you. Very kind. Very kind. I think that's it. Checking out all the other ways and means. Thanks everybody on Rockfin. Thanks everybody on Rumble. You guys are great. And to everybody that contributes to the show, I appreciate you. You know who you are. I'll see you tomorrow. Black Bear News will be on at 4 p.m. I might be doing an 11 a.m. thoughts. Gonna try. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you for the eyes, the ears, and the conscience. And especially thank you for the conversation. Until next time, peace.